All right, the next thing you need to know how to do is to be able to do the labs. The labs are 100% online. With a quick reminder, this is an online course, which means it is technically asynchronous. Now, with that in mind, a lot of people would prefer to have a bit of help on this. So there are lab times, there are actually optional lectures as well as help sessions, and I'll deal with that in a minute here. But in terms of our lab comes in two options, actually three options. Let's try that again. It's either going to be an assignment on Achieve, of which there are a couple in that are embedded in with the first exam, and then there are going to be lab assignments in Pivot. Pivot Interactives is a really lovely online interactive lab software program. You can take and you can purchase it either through the bookstore or directly from the vendor. If you want to find out how to do that, you're going to take and you're going to go home, you're going to go to the required materials. Once you go to the required materials, it's going to take you down here, Pivot Interactive, go to join the class. Note the class key is here. You're going to be asked for that. So if you click on the go here, it's right there, and you're going to put in all of your information. If you have purchased Pivot through the bookstore, you will put in a code then. That just is the number that indicates you paid for it. Otherwise, you will purchase it here. Once you have done that, you're going to take and you're going to go to your labs. So again, the labs are linked in the chapter material. The ones through Achieve are fairly straightforward. If you go to the ones through Pivot, let's make sure those make sense and go through them. So content for exam one, you're going to find lab assignments. If you click on that, they're all here. So the first lab assignment is making measurements in sig figs. It's going to open in a new window and it's going to take you to Pivot. Make 100% certain that you go to Pivot through Canvas. If you go and you do your labs directly from Pivot, your grade will not show up in Canvas. So if you want your grade to show up, you need to do it directly from the link that is embedded in that labs for the particular exam. So with this, if I take and we look at Pivot and we go into the course, and this is my navigation here, not yours. So make sure you just go through yours, and let's look at the first lab you're going to do out of Pivot Interactive is what it's called. Now, there is going to be a video embedded in pretty much every single one, and this is going to help you navigate through. This is a video that I've put in. So what are you going to do? You're going to take and you're going to walk through and you're going to do a bit of review. And this is some sig figs review. By the time you get to this lab, which will be probably midweek, you'll have already done the sig figs portion of the text. And this is just some multiple choice and you're going to go through. Now we're going to do some measurements. Now, if you want to make sure you know how to do this, the measurements, and you're not, and this is, note you while the first lab on the next or Sunday, the 23rd, I think it's the 23rd, is required. Its purpose is to get you a lab partner. I want people to work together this summer. If you're not certain how to do a lab, look at the video. Everything is embedded that you need to do in that video. So if we do this experiment, they're going to say, okay, what are we doing here? So if we look at this guy here and we want to measure the volume you read from the bottom of the meniscus, so you're going to answer a question. Now we want to know what the mass is, so we're going to go over here and we're going to read the mass because this is doing the experiment for us. Once we've done that, we're going to take and do density. So we're going to do density for a particular liquid. And again, the whole purpose right now is just to figure out how to use this. And you're going to fill in a table. You're going to do here a couple of liquids. When you do this, it's going to help you graph. So, and there's again all sorts of stuff that's embedded as you do this. So if we're going to take and we're going to do this lab, and I want to figure out what's going on. So I'm going to do liquid number 2 for absolutely no good reason. We do liquid number 2, and we're going to press play. They're going to show us what's going on. So they put some water in there. And they've done this because if they pour this liquid directly into the graduated cylinder, it kind of sort of sticks weirdly to the side. It's a strange liquid. All right. So first of all, if we look at the um, balance on the right-hand side, it says 84.6. That's the mass of the graduated cylinder and the water that's in it. Where over here on the left is the view of this with just the water, make sure you pay attention here to this volume because we're going to ignore it. And we're going to go right here and they're going to pour the liquid in. Now this liquid is denser than water and it is going to take and sink. So what do we have here? Well, what we have here now is the volume of this liquid, and I would say that's right around 10.1 to 3 milliliters. I have the mass of the liquid, the silver liquid that we added, as well as the graduated cylinder in the water. You're going to subtract out the graduated cylinder in the water, and you're going to get the mass of the liquid. Okay, great. So what, you've done the lab. Now, once we have done these and we go through, you're going to follow the instructions. And again, we're going to talk about this when we actually get to the lab. You're going to answer all of these questions, you're going to do some graphing. And then when you are through, you need to make sure that you have submitted the lab. If you do not submit the lab, I cannot grade your lab. So once you've taken and you've completed it, you've done all the answers and you submit it. What it's going to happen then is it's going to show up in my box over here to be graded. So here, if I click here, it says there's no student responses yet. Well, once you join this class and you do the lab and you have submitted your lab, it's going to show up here. So a previous assignment, I'm just going to dig out one of my colleagues' assignments here, would be if you're here and when you're looking at a lab, it would have all of the students' grades, all the names, and then the corresponding what's going on with the status. Once you have submitted it, it's going to be listed here as submitted. When I have graded it, it's going to be listed here as graded. Now, the in-between one is the most important, and that is request a submission. If you've made mistakes, I am going to come over here and I'm going to click on the request a revision. And once I do that, I will shoot a note up in the announcements and you will have a day or so to fix it. Now, the notice of request revision will not show up in Canvas. You're going to have to come back each time and check Pivot to see if I have requested a revision. If you choose not to revise it, that's absolutely fine. Please note, if you realize a week later that I've requested a revision, the labs by then will be closed. I can't keep these open. They make a complete mess of things grading wise if I leave them open. So again, what are you going to do? You're going to access the lab through the content for exam one. Once you do this, you're going to go and you're going to do the lab. When you're finished the lab, you're going to submit the lab, and then you're going to check announcements and see if I've requested a revision. If I have, there will be notes within the grading, and you need to fix it and resubmit it.